Today is another one of those real talk videos because when I sat down in this seat earlier, I was going to just do an n8n tutorial. I've been asked about this quite a bit. I've said I want to do a tutorial, and I'm putting that together finally right now. But in the middle of me doing this, something else came up that's so mind-blowing that I have to share it with you because it could make n8n obsolete. Let's talk about it.
Welcome to the API for Everyone Daily Brief.
Okay, my apologies if you had no clue what I was saying in the intro. If you're not familiar with n8n, what this is a platform where you can build automations. You can integrate AI and create AI agents that go out and do very specific work on your behalf. Think of it as a Zapier. If you've ever used that, it's kind of it's not really open source. It's open source-ish. I know there's a word for it. It escapes me right now. But you have, you can pay a fee to be on their cloud. You can run it on your own virtual private server. And of course, you can run it locally on your own machine. So there's a lot of options here. But for today, I'm just running it on their server. I have another account here that I started so we can go fresh and I can do this quick tutorial with you. Now, if you have no interest in building agents yourself, I still think it's very valuable for you to understand how this works and see it in action. You might pay an agency to do it for you. You might have it done in-house. You might have a team member that takes care of this stuff. But if you're in a leadership position, you should know and understand how these flows work, at least on a basic level. And that's what I'm going to show you today. But man, AI is moving so quickly. And the skills that I'm going to teach you now are going to be obsolete in maybe a few weeks, definitely in a few months. And that is the rub right now with everything that we're doing. And I'm going to show you what I mean towards the end. So you're going to want to stay for this whole video today. Welcome to n8n. The first thing I want to say here is I don't want you to be intimidated by this. It can feel a little intimidating at first, but I promise you it is very simple, very easy to use. And once you understand some basic concepts, you'll be off to the races making your own AI agents and automations here. Today, we're going to do a very simple one. It's not even going to have AI in it, just a very simple workflow automation that creates value. And you can customize this and do so many different things. Here's the scenario. You have a form on your website, and it is for prospects to fill out and give you their budget. Now, this isn't the perfect scenario, but let's just say that that's what's happening right now. Now, how would you deal with that? Maybe you're just getting all this information in as people are filling it out. You are evaluating it yourself, and then you are sending an email out to the prospect, either saying, yeah, well, let's talk. Let's take this to the next discovery level. Or you might want to decline because their budget isn't quite a fit for your agency. What we're going to do is we're going to create a test form here in n8n, and then we're going to create a way to do all of that automatically. Now, when you're in the canvas, that's what this is called. You're going to have some fun in here. I'm telling you, you can explore in here for hours upon hours and days. It's just so much fun. But the canvas right now, it's blank. And this is where all of your nodes are going to go. And that's how your workflow goes. Node to node to node. Your input, your output. We're going to click this box. And the first thing we're going to do, and you're going to see there's all these options over here, but you use the search box the most because there's so many. So just type in form, and then you'll see this n8n form. We're going to go ahead and add that to our workflow. You could use HubSpot, you could use MailChimp, you could use literally anything you could plug in here that you or your company already uses. I'm just using this as a very simple demo, so using their form. Now, I want to point out something. So you see on the canvas here, this is what's called our trigger. This starts the entire process. And in this case, somebody filling out the form and hitting submit is that trigger. So now let's go in here and create this form. So you'll notice when you click on top of it that this box comes up, and this is where you fill out all of your information. So in this case, we have a form title, right? So we'll just call this our prospect form. You can put a description in here if you want. And then we're going to add our form elements. And what you're going to notice is just like any other form that you have ever filled out. So there's a field name, an element type, right? Element type, just all the same stuff. And we're going to do name, required field. We're going to do email. And let's look at our element types here. We see there is an email element type. And we're going to make that a required field. Then we are going to have another field name called company name, and that's going to be a text field. A text field. Then we will have another field, and we'll just call this budget. And this will be a numbers field. So budget. We'll make that required because our whole system is based on their budget. And then let's just add something else, something like comment, notes, whatever you want to do there. And then for the element type, it would be the text area. That's just, instead of a very small box, right, it's a little bit bigger, and they can put more text there. And there is basically the entire form. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to execute this step and make sure that everything is working. So let's click this. You can click it here or here. And you will see now a form popped up. Let's fill this out. Let's just say this is Mark. We'll call him Mark Zuck. I'll use my own email here for now. Meta is the company. Let's say his budget is, let's say it's $10,000. And the comment is, you are awesome. Boom. Submit. What I want you to notice over here is on this side of these boxes is your input. And since this is our first node, there's not really going to be any input there. You're going to have the output from the node. And that is, well, the input that is now output. And that's name, email, company name, budget, comment, right? Everything that we just did. You can see it. Now, if you go up here to the far right, you're going to be able to see it in some different formats. You can see this schema table, which is what most people would look at, or something called JSON. And if you're not familiar with JSON, it's okay. All this runs on JSON, but you don't really need to know it. Don't let that intimidate you at all. And I'll show you why. It's incredibly easy. Now, one thing I want you to note here is in this top right, there's this little pin. I want you to click that if you're doing this anytime you're building something out, because you're going to pin that data to the top. It's not going to go away. So when you're running these executions in order to make sure everything's working, that data is always going to be sitting there. And I promise you, you will thank me for this later. You will thank me for this later. Okay, so we have our first node ready to go, and we've tested it. And now we're off to the next node. Now that we have our information, what do we want to do with it? How are we going to parse it? How are we going to make sense of it? What we're going to want to do is create some logic. Now, to do that, we're going to press this little box here with the cross in it. We're going to go over here, and there's one of these boxes which is called flow. You're going to click flow, and you're going to go down here to what's called switch. Okay, so flow to switch, and you're going to click that, and you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff that we can fill out. Now, far left, we can go back to the canvas anytime we click that. I'm going to do that right now very quickly. And you can see now we have our second node in place. Here's the form. This is going to give us our logic on what we want to do with all of that. So when we click this here, you are going to see kind of a if-then type of logic. Let's create these rules here. So we're going to have a value. We're going to have a value. So in this case, if the budget is, and we'll say greater than or equal to. Okay, so you'll go in this box, you'll find number, you'll find greater than or equal to. That's what we're going to work with. So in this case, we are only going to work with a budget that is greater than or equal to, let's say, $7,500. We'll use that as a number. Well, where do we get this number right here? It's going to be the number that the prospect inputted. Here's where JSON comes in. But you're not going to need to know it. You're going to go over here to the left, and you're going to look at the input. Now, what you'll notice is there's one here called budget, and it has the $10,000 that we put in there. All you have to do is click that and move it over into the box. And now you have whatever that number is, in this case 10 grand, but it could be any number. If it is greater than or equal to 7,500, we're going to do something with that. Okay? Now let's add another value. And if that number, again, budget, so let's click that and let's move this in here. Okay? If it is what then? Less than number, let's find is less than 7,500. We want to do something else. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do here is let's execute this and see what actually happens. Okay. So the node did work successfully. So it understands that there is something going on here. But now let's go back here and see what's happening. And you'll notice we have these two lines here coming out. And what those two lines are based on either are greater than or equal to or are less than. So we want an email to go out based on this and a different email to go out based on that. What we're going to do next is have the emails go based on those two things. So I'm going to click the plus sign there again. And for me, I use Gmail the most. So I'm going to put in Gmail. But again, any email client, it's possible. It is almost anything is possible in here. So let's click Gmail. And in this case, we want to see all of these different options. We just want to send a message. Now I'm going to go back to the canvas real quick, but you're going to see what happened here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for our bottom one. Okay. And again, it's Gmail, send a message. So now what do we have? We have our form that just got filled out with the data. We have our logic on what to do with the data. And now we are going to email either approved or denied. That's basically what's happening. So let's go in and set up these emails. The first thing is you are going to have to sign in to your Gmail in this case. I'm already signed in here, but you could create new credential, open that up, and literally you just sign in and you're off to the races there. In my case, we're just doing the one I already have. Our resource here is a message. The operation is we want to send it. Now, who do we want to send it to? We don't want to send it to you or me. We want to send this email to the person who filled out the form. Now, how do we do that? It's JSON again. So we're going to go over here to the input. We're going to grab the one that says email, and we're just going to throw it in there, and boom. That's all you have to do. Now we're going to hit subject. And in this case, what do we want our subject line to be? It can be pretty much anything. But let's just say that we're going to just call this person by name in the subject line. So hello. But what's their name? What is their name? Well, all we have to do is go back over here to all the input and find name. And it's JSON, but all we got to do is move that over and boom. And I want you to notice here below it, it's going to show you what that actually looks like in normal text. So there you go. That's really, really cool too. And then the message. So how do you want this message to be? Well, let's go ahead and put their name in it again. So we can go over here. Again, JSON, just grab the name, put it in the message. Okay. So hello, in this case, Mark, or just Mark, comma. Thank you for reaching out. A valuable team member will contact you in 1 business day. So we're just going to keep this simple right now. Okay, so that would be the email. Now, let's see if this works. We're going to click this execute step. Boom. And we see down here, node executed successfully, and we can see everything that happened here. Now, let's go to my email, because in this case, I used my email, and let's see what it looks like. Look at that. So our subject, hello, and the person's name, it went to the proper email, and then here is the message. Now, if you want this gone, I'm going to show you something to get rid of that as well. Maybe you don't want people to know that you're using automation. You want them to feel like it's coming from you. You can click down here in the bottom of the Gmail one, and you can click this append n8n attribution, and then just declick that little line, and you will not see that in the next one. Okay, so let's go over to the other one. Now, this is the one where we're denying them, but very similar. Well, exactly the same except for our message. So we're going to click our Gmail account, or you're going to connect your Gmail account, depending on how you're going about this. It's a message. It's a send. What do we want to do here with the 2? We want to go in and grab the form submission, right? Back to the name, the email, and all this information. So let's grab the email, JSON, just throw it in there. Let's do the same thing we did before, hello, and their name. So we're just going to grab that, put that straight in here. Too many spaces, so we're going to leave 1 space there. And then what we want to say in the message. So in this case, again, let's grab the name, have that start in the message, and then we can put whatever message in here that we want. So let's say something like, unfortunately, we are not accepting any new clients. Wait, where are we at? Clients at this time. It's fictional. We would be much nicer than that. But let's give this a test. Let's execute it and make sure that everything is working. Node executed successfully. You might be wondering why there's no data over on the output side, but that's because, remember, it's going to be A or B based on the logic that we fed it. And it emailed the other one because it met that criteria, not this criteria. So that's why we didn't have any output for this particular node. What we want to do is, how do we know that anybody filled out this form and what's going on? Well, after this email goes out, you could have your CRM updated. You could get a text. You could get, there's just a 1,000 different ways you could get notified for this. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to use a Google Sheet. But again, look at this. Look at all these different options that you have here that you can choose from. So Google Sheets, and then you're going to have even more options within the sheet itself. So we're not creating a sheet. You have already got a pre-made sheet ready to go. You're not deleting a spreadsheet, but we are going to append or update a row in a current sheet that we have. So let's click on that. And before we go in here, you'll notice, again, what's going on with our workflow. The emails have gone out, and now we need to get updated about this. So just like Gmail, you're going to log in. You're either going to create your new credential, or if you already have a Google Sheets account logged in here, you're just going to click that, make it accessible. Our resource here is a sheet within a document. We are going to append or update a row. We are going to use, I created a tutorial sheet for this, and it is going to go into sheet number 1, because you know how it has different sheets. I just didn't name it. Now, you'll see all of these things from our Google Sheet, from our form. Let me show you the Google Sheet real quick. Here it is. Name, email, company budget, or company name, budget, comments, and then these are 2 other ones that the form just had that I'm just adding to it. Name. We have name. Where do we get name? Remember JSON? We just move that box over. Boom. Look how easy that is. Email. We're just going to throw that in the email box. Boom. Company name. Oh, I lost it. Form submission. Company name. Boom. Budget. Boom. Comments. It is that easy. It is that easy. Now, the one thing you want to do here too, that I've missed many times, is there's this one that pops up, says columns to match on. I just pick that up, click name, and you should be good to go here. So let's execute this step and make sure that everything is working as it should. And there we go. There we go. Now let's go to our Google Sheet, and you can see name is here, email's here, company, budget, and the comments. So everything is working. Okay, now we can either copy and paste this down here, or we can just hook this one up to that Google Sheet. And then we are going to have a good workflow there. Now you'll notice yellow means something has changed and we have not tested that yet. So let's run a full execution here and let's make sure that everything is working. So boom, here comes our form again. This time, let's say it's Harry Houdini. We'll still use my email for this. He works for the Magic Company. Let's say his budget is only $1,000. Okay, but he thinks we're awesome too. But he thinks we're really awesome. And we'll hit the submit form. And we can go over here, and it happens so fast, but you'll see the whole process light up and move. It says our workflow executed successfully. You will see our Google Sheet here is fully updated. And you will see we got our email here. Harry Houdini, unfortunately, we are not accepting any new clients at this time. So there you go. There's a very simple workflow. You can go 900 different ways from here. You've stuck with me this long. Congratulations, because I'm getting ready to give you a real look into the future of work. Because platforms like n8n are either going to evolve or they're going to quickly fade away too. And having a full understanding of how to create these workflows and these nodes, well, that could quickly, by this time next year, be a complete thing of the past. I believe the people that will succeed over the next couple of years are going to be folks that can look at business systems, look at workflows, be able to verbally communicate what those problems are into different systems to come up with solutions. So it's going to really be more about communication than it is anything else. And let me show you what I mean. This platform is called Sim.ai. And you're going to notice it's very similar to n8n. Okay, we have our kind of trigger here that's going on. We have all of this stuff over here. So very, very similar. But what this has that is incredible is this Copilot. And what we're going to do in this Copilot is all we're going to do is tell it what we want. And in this case, I am just going to speak what we did in n8n straight in here, and let's see what happens. So here's the prompt that we're putting in. Create a workflow called Prospect Budget Filter. The workflow should start with a form that collects a prospect's name, email, company, budget, and notes. Once the form is submitted, check the budget. If it is 10,000 or more, send an email to the prospect saying we are interested in working with them. If it is less than $10,000, send an email politely declining. Regardless of outcome, log all the submission details, including which email was sent, into a Google Sheet named Prospect Submissions. Now, I'm just going to click that. That's all we did. And let's see what happens. And if this takes a little time, I will speed up time so you can see. And then I'll tell you how long this took. And there we go. That literally took about 2 minutes. Okay, let's get this minimized a little bit so we can see the whole thing. So you can see our trigger here, the form. We have the data being collected. We have the decision logic going on right here. We have either a decline email or an acceptance email. And then we have everything going into a Google Sheet. Literally 2 minutes to create that. Over, what did it take us? 15 or 20 minutes on n8n. Now, of course, you still have to plug in your APIs, run your tests, do all that good stuff. But the point here is you don't even have to understand the logic, the workflow, any of that. It is creating it all for you based on text or based on speech. Wow. That is some secret sauce, folks. That is the future of work right there, folks. If that didn't blow your mind, I don't know what will blow your mind. So I know I didn't do a fancy tutorial here, but look, I'm trying to get good quality learning out, and the fancy editing can wait for some other stuff. Hopefully you found value. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, like button, bell notification button. That's it. That's it for me today. My name is Harrison Painter. This has been your AI for Everyone Daily Brief with a tutorial. And until next time, keep creating, keep innovating, and most importantly, keep up. God bless.
Thanks for listening. I'm glad you stayed.